My name is Anna. I just turned 32 last month. Life used to feel normal. I had a good job, a cozy little house, and a husband named Daniel, who I loved with everything I had. We'd been together for 8 years, practically a lifetime, it felt like. I honestly thought we were happy. Turns out, I was so wrong. It was a Tuesday evening, I remember that clearly. I was in the kitchen, humming to the radio while I tossed a salad for dinner. Daniel was supposed to be home any minute. He'd been working late a lot lately, and I'd started to get this nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach that something wasn't quite right. But I pushed it away. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. The door finally opened, but it wasn't with his usual cheerful, "Honey, I'm home." Daniel walked in, his face like stone. No kiss hello, no smile. He just went straight to the kitchen table and sat down heavily. He looked up at me, and his eyes were serious, almost sad. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low. My hands instantly went cold. My heart started hammering in my chest. I carefully put the spoon down on the counter, trying to act like everything was okay, even though my insides were screaming that it wasn't. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared down at the tabletop, like it held all the answers. Then he just blurted it out. "Now's a hold shaptus I don't love you anymore." His words were quiet, barely above a whisper, but they hit me like a punch to the gut. The room seemed to spin. My breath caught in my throat. What? I managed to croak out. "Ow ho." "I'm sorry, Anna," he said, finally looking up, but his eyes were distant. "I really am. I never wanted to hurt you." I just stared at him, numb. This was Daniel. My Daniel. The man I'd built my life with, shared my dreams with, trusted completely. And now, he was telling me he didn't love me anymore, just like that. Questions swirled in my head. Why? What did I do? And how can you just stop loving someone? But no sound came out. Hi. "There's someone else," he continued, his voice barely audible. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Tears welled up in my eyes, hot and stinging. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. It just happened. It just happened. No. Ow. Love doesn't just happen. Betrayal doesn't just happen. I couldn't sit there another second. I stood up abruptly, pushing my chair back. "So, what now?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my efforts to control it. Daniel sighed deeply, the sound heavy with something. "Regret? Relief? Leaf?" "I'm leaving," he said. And just like that, the floor dropped out from under me. My world tilted, cracked, and started to crumble. While I sat like a statue on the couch, tears streaming down my face, Daniel started packing. I watched him, a hollow ache spreading through my chest. He took his clothes, his books from the shelves we'd put up together, even his favorite coffee mug. I wanted to scream, to throw his things out the window, to beg him to stay, to take it all back. But I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. He stood by the door, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "I really am sorry, Anna," he repeated, his voice flat this time. I couldn't bring myself to answer. He just sighed again, opened the door, and walked out. I sat there, frozen, listening to his car start up and drive away. Then, silence. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the house. And that's when I broke. The sobs came then, racking my body, tearing through me. I curled up on the couch, hugging my knees to my chest, rocking back and forth like a wounded animal. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. My chest was tight, my throat raw. I cried until my head throbbed, until my throat burned, until there were no tears left. Finally, exhausted and empty, I just sat there in the dark, completely alone. The next morning, I woke up, and for a split second, I forgot. My hand instinctively reached for Daniel's side of the bed. Empty. And then it all came crashing back. The pain hit me again, sharp and brutal, like a knife twisting in my chest. I got out of bed and wandered through the house. His things were gone. Even his scent seemed to have vanished. But his ghost was everywhere. His empty chair at the kitchen table. His coffee mug missing from the sink. His slippers no longer by the door. Everywhere I looked, I saw him, or rather, the absence of him. I went into the bathroom and stared at my reflection. Pale face, red, swollen eyes. I looked like a stranger. My fingers touched my wedding ring, still on my finger. I couldn't take it off. Not yet. I was utterly, devastatingly alone. The days that followed were a blur of pain. Food tasted like cardboard, so I barely ate. Sleep was a battlefield of memories and nightmares. At work I plastered on a fake smile, nodded at coworkers, answered emails, went through the motions. But inside, I was shattered. People said, "You'll be okay," like it was a magic spell. But I didn't believe them. Nights were the worst. The bed felt enormous and cold. The silence was deafening. I'd clutch my pillow and cry myself to sleep, night after night. Sometimes, my hand would hover over my phone, wanting to text him, to call him, to beg him to come back. But I never did. Because I knew, deep down, he was with her now. Then, one ordinary Tuesday, weeks later, I went to the grocery store. Walking back to my car, I passed a coffee shop. And there he was. Hi, Daniel. He was sitting at an outdoor table, laughing. And across from him was a woman. Younger than me. As beautiful. Dying, cry, gentleman. She threw her head back and laughed at something he said, and he smiled at her. A genuine, happy smile. A smile I hadn't seen in ages. My stomach plummeted. My hands went ice cold. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to disappear. But I was frozen, rooted to the spot, just watching. Then he looked up. His eyes met mine. For a fleeting second, I saw something flicker in his face. Shock, yes. And maybe guilt? Pity? Pity? I didn't wait to decipher it. I turned and walked away, quickly at first, then faster. Tears burned behind my eyes, but this time I didn't let them fall. Not here, not now. I walked faster, and then I started to run. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs ached, until my heart felt like it would burst out of my chest. When I finally got home, I slammed the door shut, locked it, and slid down to the floor, back against the cool wood. And then, finally, I cried. But this time, the tears felt different. They weren't just tears of heartbreak. They were tears of acceptance. Because seeing him there with her laughing, it was like a final brutal confirmation. Daniel was gone. Really gone. And I had to move on. The next morning, I woke up, and for the first time in weeks, the pain wasn't the first thing I felt. It was still there, a dull ache, but different. I walked into the bathroom and took off my wedding ring. It felt strange, lighter somehow, without it. I made myself breakfast, toast and eggs, something I hadn't bothered with in ages. I even managed to eat it. I sat by the window with a cup of coffee and watched the sun rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. It still hurt. It would hurt for a long time, I knew that. But in that moment, watching the sunrise, I also knew something else. I wasn't going to let this pain destroy me. Can't too. One day, I would be happy again. One day, I would wake up and Daniel wouldn't be the first thought in my head. One day, maybe, someday far in the future, I might even love again. But today, I would survive. Just survive. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now.